Picture this. You empty your Missouri LLC's bank account, lock the doors, and just walk away. Sounds easy, right? Well, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a critical business process that so many entrepreneurs get dangerously wrong: how to formally and legally close down a Missouri Limited Liability Company. It might sound like a bunch of dry paperwork, but getting this wrong can cost you dearly. We're going to break down this entire process from start to finish using the specific statutes and forms required by the state.
So what actually happens if you just abandon an LLC in Missouri? You'd be shocked by how many business owners mistakenly believe that if a company has no money and no activity, it just magically ceases to exist on its own. They assume they can just abandon it and move on.
Well, spoiler alert, it doesn't. That is a massively dangerous misconception. Abandoning your LLC exposes you to severe financial vulnerabilities, statutory penalties, and personal liabilities. If you don't formally dissolve the entity, the state still considers it active. This means unclosed tax accounts will automatically generate ongoing tax assessments and penalties against your business. Even worse, you risk losing your corporate liability shield, meaning creditors could literally come after your personal assets. We definitely want to avoid that.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our strategic roadmap to navigate this complex bureaucratic process safely. First, intro and legal requirements. 2, the step-by-step process. 3, settling debts and final taxes. 4, avoiding common dissolution pitfalls. 5, post-dissolution legal considerations. And 6, support resources and a quick disclaimer.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, Intro and Legal Requirements.
Now, what's really interesting about how Missouri handles this is that they completely separate the action of closing from the final legal status of being closed. It's a two-part thing. Winding up is the active phase. It's a verb. It's that period where you're liquidating assets, resolving contracts, and paying off debts. Termination, on the other hand, is the finish line. It's the final legal state that officially ends the LLC's existence. You simply cannot have termination without first completing the winding up phase.
A legally secure dissolution always has to start from the inside out, with strict internal compliance. Your very first move? Check your LLC's operating agreement. That usually spells out exactly how many members need to agree to dissolve. But if your agreement doesn't specify, or if you never actually wrote one, Missouri's default statutory rules kick in. Under Missouri Revised Statute Section 347.137, voluntary dissolution requires the unanimous written consent of all members. If you're a single-member LLC, you just need a written resolution signed by yourself. And remember, verbal agreements do not count. Always document the vote in writing through formal meeting minutes or a written consent form. Moving right along to Section 2, the step-by-step process.
Let's break this massive bureaucratic hurdle down into manageable pieces. Here's the chronological journey you need to follow. Step 1, as we just discussed, vote and document the agreement. Step 2, file Form LLC 13, which is the notice of winding up. Step 3, execute the actual winding up by settling debts, notifying creditors, and closing your tax accounts. And finally, Step 4, file Form LLC 5, your articles of termination. Let's look a little closer at these two specific Missouri Secretary of State filings, because this two-step dance is actually pretty unique compared to a lot of other states. Form LLC 13 is your notice of winding up. You file this immediately after your members approve the dissolution. It declares your intent to dissolve and puts the public on notice. Then there's Form LLC 5, the Articles of Termination. You only file this after all your assets are distributed and your debts are completely settled. That is the one that officially cancels the entity.
And hey, if you're bracing yourself for some massive state fee, you can take a breath. The total state filing fee for this entire process is incredibly low, just $50 total. It costs $25 to file the notice of winding up and another $25 for the articles of termination. This makes the financial barrier to doing things by the book very, very affordable. Plus, you can easily file these online through the Missouri Business Services portal for near-instant processing.
Let's get into the financial heart of this in Section 3, settling debts and final taxes. And this brilliantly illustrates the strict statutory timeline you have to follow for creditors. On day 1 of your winding up phase, you must send direct written notice to all your known creditors, telling them exactly where and how to submit their claims. You have to give them a clear deadline that is at least 90 days out from the date of the notice. Any claims that come in after that 90-day window? Officially barred. Furthermore, Missouri law states that by publishing a public notice of your winding up, unknown claims against your LLC are completely barred after 3 years. Now, listen up, because when you are liquidating assets, Missouri law mandates a very strict order of priority for distributing that money. You cannot just divide up the remaining cash among the owners right away. Doing so is actually illegal. Number 1, you must pay your creditors first. And yes, this includes LLC members who are acting as creditors to the business. After the creditors are completely satisfied, you can then pay members for pending distributions, then return their initial capital contributions, and only then distribute any remaining profits in proportion to their membership shares.
Okay, we need to clear up a massive point of confusion regarding the Department of Revenue. If you run a Missouri corporation, state law requires you to obtain a formal certificate of tax clearance before the Secretary of State will let you dissolve. But if you have a Missouri LLC, you actually do not require a formal tax clearance certificate to dissolve. It's a huge distinction.
But hold on. Skipping the certificate does not mean you get to skip your taxes. An LLC absolutely must still submit final tax returns, making sure to check that final return box, and must submit Form 126 to the Missouri Department of Revenue. Form 126 is the registration change request, and it is how you officially instruct the state to close your sales, withholding, and corporate income tax accounts.
All right, moving to Section 4, avoiding common dissolution pitfalls.
Let's walk through the traps that catch so many business owners. Trap 1, failing to formalize the vote in writing. Verbal agreements just fail under scrutiny. Trap 2, paying members before creditors. Like we just covered, this is illegal and breaches statutory priority. Trap 3, forgetting Form 126. Remember, unclosed tax accounts will automatically generate ongoing tax assessments and penalties. Trap 4, assuming the state will just close it for you if you stop operating. Missouri LLCs don't even file annual reports, so there's no automatic annual penalty trigger to shut you down quickly. You just stay open and totally vulnerable. And Trap 5, if your Missouri LLC is registered to do business in other states, you must file withdrawal forms in those specific states too.
Almost at the finish line here. Section 5, Post-Dissolution Legal Considerations.
I really want you to hear this crucial legal warning. If you do not resolve a debt before dissolving the LLC, you and the other members could face personal liability for that debt. So the crucial point is this: that corporate veil that protects your personal savings in your home from business debts, it can absolutely be pierced if you rush the winding up phase and illegally distribute assets to yourself while ignoring your creditors.
Because of that exact risk, your paper trail is quite literally your absolute best defense. After dissolution, you need to keep copies of every single creditor notice you sent, complete with proof of delivery. You should also hold on to written confirmation that all business bank accounts, local permits, and state licenses were formally closed. If a creditor ever surfaces years down the line claiming they weren't notified, this file is what keeps you safe.
Finally, Section 6, support resources and our disclaimer.
Here are some actionable touch points you're going to need. For your main LLC 13 and LLC 5 filings, hit up the Missouri Business Services portal online at bsd.sos.mo.gov. It is the fastest method. For taxes, you'll work with the Missouri Department of Revenue Taxation Division. They accept Form 126 via email or fax. If you had employees, don't forget to use the UInteract portal with the Division of Employment Security to close your unemployment accounts. And finally, don't forget to contact your local city or county clerks to cancel any local business licenses you hold. And of course, the necessary legal boundaries. The information provided in this explainer is strictly for educational purposes and does not constitute legal or tax advice. Every single business situation is highly unique, so please always consult a qualified attorney or a CPA to guide your specific corporate dissolution. So, I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. Have you checked your LLC's operating agreement today? Even if you aren't planning to close your business tomorrow, knowing exactly what your foundational document requires for a dissolution vote is a critical part of being a responsible business owner. Don't wait until an emergency to find out you're missing the paperwork. Go check it out today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.